Hi, friend. Thank you for joining us at Pasture Experience Podcast. This podcast, inspired by Psalm 23, is a safe space to be honest with yourself, experience the Trinity on your own pasture journey, and join our soul-nourishing conversations wherever you are on your spiritual path. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you feel encouraged and known. Today, you are invited to come as you are. And as we talk, I'm imagining that you're sitting right here on my couch and we're having a soul-nourishing conversation, the two of us. But mostly I'm just wanting to invite you to listen to yourself, to kind of start getting comfortable with that rhythm. And so this is where Pasture Experience begins. It's taking an honest look and listening to within, to how we come to today, to our pasture, to the Trinity, before we even look at how we are responded to. To trust that this pasture, this level playing field is where the shepherd is longing to meet us, where he's longing to meet you, where he's longing to meet the real you, the you today, not the you who wants to be. And the reason that I felt stirred to start this experience in this podcast is really because I was craving a safe space to come as I was. After being a pastor's wife for 15 years, I was just hungry to feel like, is there somebody I can talk with? Can I bring my messy self with, my questions, my lament, my grief, my anger? Is there a place that is safe for me to be honest and transparent without feeling like I need to be fixed or rescued, or even get a Bible verse to make everything feel better? And I just wonder if you are here because you too long for that. You're craving a safe space to come authentically and genuinely and honestly. And so that is what today is about. I needed a safe space to wrestle, and I can't help but wonder if you do too. And so, friend, today I'm going to just invite you to listen. How do you come today? How are you? What's really going on? Do you come sad? Do you come expectant? Do you come wishing your life looked different? Do you come feeling thready in your marriage? Do you come feeling exhausted as a mom, as a dad? Do you come hungry for more, but you don't even know what to name that more? How do you come? I'd love to just offer you a moment just to listen. Listen as you're driving, or as you're walking, or as maybe you're just sitting on the couch with a cup of tea. How is your heart today? How is your soul? How do you come? Let's listen together. I'll be honest with you. Today I come more than ever being okay with not having answers, being okay that my faith journey is one of ups and downs. But if what we're here for is really to experience and to listen on our own, then you're in the bravest space you can be, because you're actually making time for that. And that begins with really looking inside in our interior and going, what is going on in there? What are we feeling? What are we thinking? What are our hopes? And I guess my prayer for you would be, as you come, may I invite you to come with no expectations. May I invite you to come with open hands. May I invite you to come with a listening posture. One of the most beautiful things that I'm experiencing in this pasture space is watching how often Jesus talks and meets with me and with others, and the way that we can watch that by how he models his physical self, the way he sits, the way he looks up, the way he offers space. And space is a big deal. Space is a big deal for those of us who need margin on the front end and the back end to be heard, to process, to talk, to listen. But this journey really does begin with us listening first. So what are you thinking about today? What's on your heart? What are you anxious about? What expectations do you have? How is Jesus meeting you in these spaces? By learning how to get comfortable listening to our interior, and then coming to learn that the Trinity is already here, that he's already meeting us right where we are, that's the safest space we can be. And I don't know where you come from or what your experience is, but sometimes space hasn't been something that's been offered as a gift. And that's what this pasture space is. So as you come today, know that you're brave. Know that your space matters, that how you come is beautiful, and it's exactly what God is hungry for, because that's where he can meet you. When we come with all of our self-protection layers and our ego and our circumstances, we come, but it's not our truest self. And so I'm inviting us today to really start to surrender those expectations, surrender maybe even our ideals. And man, I'm talking as an idealist. I see the potential of all the things that could be. And much of my pasture journey has been one of saying, okay, I'm coming and I have these hopes, but what does it look like to actually celebrate what is instead of what I long to be? So I'm coming with you into this sacred, safe space, listening, open, humbled. And I can't help but wonder if that's what you're craving as well. Coming as you are will free you up to surrender the expectations for anything other than what is. I'd love to tell you a fun story about this idea of come as you are. But when we first moved to Tennessee from California, I'm an old door window collector, and my husband teases me about it. And we were packing up the U-Haul, and he's like, Beck, do we have to put those in there? And I'm like, put them in. Put those doors in there. And I knew at the space that we had landed, this home that we were renting, I knew that I had already envisioned putting up these doors and then making signs on these 3 doors that said, come as you are. Because we were on a very visible street on the corner and people passed. And I wanted to invite people to say, however you are, as you're driving to pick up your kids up the street at school, or you're going to a work meeting, or you're going over to a friend's house for a barbecue, that how you come is beautiful and it's enough and it's welcome. And it doesn't mean you have to be perfect or have it all together. If anything, the messier and more genuine and hungry and honest, the more beautiful and open for the journey. And so we moved into this home and we put these doors up on the side of our house, and we had him up there for a while. And one day our neighbor across the street came over and he found my husband in the middle of the road. And he said, I need to tell you something. And he ended up sharing this story about how he was a writer for music, and he worked with some musicians. And one of the songs that he wrote was actually had the phrase, come as you are. And he was in a season personally where God felt really far. He was really angry. Finances were hard. He and his wife were experiencing like empty nest syndrome. There was just a lot of shifting happening and a lot of foundational things feeling like it was falling out beneath him. And he was depressed. And he had a friend reach out to him and say, I don't know why, but I just keep hearing this phrase. And I want to encourage you with this, come as you are. And so he kind of tucked that inside. And then a couple of days later, he got an email from a young man who was really honest about sitting in the car and contemplating taking his life because he had hit rock bottom. And he turned on the radio, and on the radio was this very song that our neighbor had written. And the phrase, the line, it said, basically like, bring your brokenness, bring your pain, just come as you are. And he said, that song saved my life. And then he said, and then I'm on a morning run and I go past your house and there are these doors that said, come as you are. And he just said with tears in his eyes, he said, thank you. That was for me. And so, friend, I share that with you because sometimes when we come in our open posture, in our listening space, and we're honest with where we are inside, the healing that happens, that's the beginning of the journey. But we have to first be honest with ourselves in that space. And so for me, that moment was a little bit of a consolation to tuck inside because I'd heard God say, put those doors up. And I didn't know why, but I did. And it was for that person to come as he was in that season, in that space and time. And I know that that's going to be the same for you as we journey this together. So come as you are. Know that your heart and your posture and your prayers and your questions and your doubts and your wrestlings are so very valued here. And you are loved in this pasture space. As we come as we are, we journey toward our truest self. And that's the beautiful part of this journey. In David Benner's book, Knowing Yourself as You Really Are, he says, spiritual transformation does not result from fixing our problems. It results from turning to God in the midst of them and meeting God just as we are. Turning to God is the core of prayer. Turning to God in our sin and shame is the heart of spiritual transformation. And that's my invitation to you today, to listen where you are, to listen to God, and then turn it back over to Him. Please join me next week as we continue this conversation about coming as we are to find our truest self, as I talk with Suzanne Roberts. She's a home baker of Come As You Are cakes, and she'll be sharing her journey about coming to her truest self as she surrenders expectations that have to do with her family dynamics. For those live and Skype guests, we will be providing a video option that you can check out on the YouTube channel, and that will be available in the episode notes as well. Look forward to being with you next week. As always, thank you for taking time out of your space and your day to join us here at Pasture Experience Podcast. I hope that you were able to, during our time, just listen to yourself and experience a new nugget of how the shepherd is inviting you and meeting you. And I'd love to just end our time reading Psalm 23 over you as you go about your day. May you know that He is with you, regardless of what your circumstances look like. Psalms 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. And even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for You are with me. Your rod and Your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. And surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Grace and space to you today.